and all of your hormones are going to follow. That's going to be your thyroid, your stress hormones, your sleep hormones, your appetite and hunger hormones. Literally all of those things, your cycle too, are going to respond positively to a happy circadian rhythm. Welcome to the Flourish and Flow podcast. I'm your host, Caroline Bomer. Here we explore all things women's cycles and health and what it means to honor your natural ancestral biology in a modern world so you can heal your period and reclaim vibrant health. Each episode will explore how your hormones, fertility, and body really work, giving you simple, actionable steps to create a life full of ease, healing, and confidence. Let's dive in. All right, I am so excited to talk about all things light and our hormones today. So, this was inspired by an episode I listened to from the Village Sessions podcast, probably about a month ago now. And they have a whole entire episode titled How Light Shapes Us. And after listening to that, things clicked a little bit differently for me. And I decided to put a little experiment together for myself and just see, okay, like how big of an impact does light have on me and how could I up my game in that sense? So I'll share that whole challenge at the end now. It was a challenge. It started out as a challenge to myself for 1 week just to see the difference that it made. And I was like, wow, light really had a big impact on my appetite, on my energy, all the things. And so I wanted to pass that on here. And um, I've been learning about circadian rhythm, hormones, all that, and how that all that is connected for a while now. But this just seemed to kind of culminate all the things together. So diving right in with what is light. Light is just different wavelengths of how we perceive things, pretty much. So that's how we have different colors. That's how we have like laser technology. You know, we've got UVA lights, UVB lights, some lights we can see, some wavelengths we can't see. Just all the things. And it's funny to me because it sounds so like woo-woo at first of like, oh, light frequencies, like all that. Like I was trying to explain red light therapy to my dad a couple months ago, and he was like, "Oh, okay." But then I think even like in, the conventional medical industry, how, if a baby has jaundice, we put them under certain wavelengths of light. That's the treatment. Or how we have lasers to, like I know that's used a lot, especially like oral surgeries and things like that. So that's what are lasers? Literally just light, just for wavelengths of light. So um, we know that light has a big impact and has on so many different things and can be used in really cool ways. But why stop there? Like, so how is that impacting us in our day-to-day life? Not just in like a sciencey, obscure way of like, oh, wavelengths. Like, what does that have to do with me in my daily life? Um, and before getting into like the more nitty-gritty about natural versus artificial light and how that impacts us, um, I wanted to pause and let's rethink our relationship with light. So, especially as we go through the next little bit. Um, but for example, our best source of natural light is the sun. That's literally what is makes all life possible, right, on Earth. And it's what governs all the things, not just for us in our hormones, but all of life, growing, seasons, temperature, like so many cool things. Um, but it's so funny because we fear the sun a lot of times. Like we are afraid of the harmful rays, which is wavelengths. And we are like hiding and protecting, we look at the sun as like something to shield ourselves from, rather than healing. It was just so funny because like that's literally the best source of all light. Like we all the wavelengths we get come from the sun. Um, so it's funny that we like separate that as like, oh, the sun is bad, but all these other lights and things are good. And it's like, okay. Um, Not really adding up since the sun has the full spectrum of light and that spectrum of light changes throughout the day. Like the frequency that you get in the morning versus the afternoon versus the evening, or of course, at night when it's not there. Those are all different frequencies and wavelengths of light that we can use and we have access to on a daily basis. So, um, yeah, like I think if we start to switch seeing the sun as like harmful, damaging, something to hide from, and something that can be healing, and that is used actually in a very, um, yeah, it just is a very healing thing if we allow it. I'm not saying go sit out in the sun for 8 hours straight with no sunscreen or anything. Like if you've been sitting indoors for all this entire winter so far, like yeah, you're gonna get burnt and that's not great. But like anything with health, we can build up to something and our body's adapting. So your body's not adapted to that level of light exposure. So being more pale in the winter, we're more receptive to light, which is pretty amazing. So yeah, just not jumping in head first, build it up, warm up to it, so to speak. Um, but yeah, the light and healing is very healing. Sun is great. We love it. Um, and yeah, and that's a whole thing too, safe sun exposure, but like also again, how you perceive light is dependent not just on like what your body's been adapted to up until this point, but also um, like what you're consuming. So they touch on this a little bit in the Village Sessions episode, but even people that are like, oh, I'm just Irish, I just burn really easily because I'm super pale, all that. And then all of a sudden they eat well and they lower their polyunsaturated fats, so PUFAs and seed oils, and they swap that out for saturated fats, which are very protective against the sun. And all of a sudden they're not burning and they have a tan for the first time in their life, which is so amazing. Almost like human beings all across the world are not designed to hide and burn like under any circumstances. So, super cool. Even if you have some really pale ancestry, that does not mean that you have to just burn and that's it. Um, so yeah, but the whole safe sun exposure conversation is like a little tangent, but it does, I think, at least deserve a mention here. So if we're looking at natural versus artificial light, um, the question I like to ask a lot lately has been, what is this communicating to your body? So we talk a lot about like, oh, what's your like listening to your body and what your body's telling you, but also what are you telling your body? So, if we look at naturally, like what does a natural circadian rhythm look like? Like if we were to take off all the modern stuff and we go back like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago, all of human history, right? Um, what did light look like in a 24-hour cycle? So, people would wake up, you had candles for lighting if it was dark. And if it was dark outside, it was gonna be dark, like you might have some candlelight and that's about it, maybe a campfire. And or I guess, you also have like a fireplace at some point, like but that's pretty much it. Like if it was dark, it was dark. And then if it was light, it was light. And that was that. And if it was, changed throughout the seasons, um, then that was also pretty normal. So, whether you live like far up north, like in like northern Canada, or if you live closer to the equator where you get a lot more sun, it's just yeah. So that is going to impact like appetite, hunger, reproductive hormones, how you sleep at night, how you wake up in the morning. So, like, even think about how that impacts your activities, like cooking, for example, or going to the bathroom. So if you're waking up to go to the bathroom like 5 times a night, we should check your blood sugar for one. And also, like in a natural environment, that's not like ideal, Like you think about camping. If you were to just go camping, try to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, it is not fun. You have to like find a flashlight and then like it's just a little freaky because you're like, I can't see around me. Like it's not this like it doesn't really communicate safety. Like that's not really what we were designed for? Um, or like cooking, people were cooking a big meal at 8 p.m. when it was dark after like pretty like not just like getting dark, but like dark dark, like the sunset at 6. We weren't so like that is gonna impact how and when we're eating. So, or seasonally as well. So we're really, again, they touch on this in the episode. It's so good. But we're like almost afraid of winter, which is so interesting because like we think winter, we think dark and cold and sad and nothing is growing, everything's dead. And like it's a lot of negative, like descriptive words, which I think says a lot about like deep down how we feel about it, and how it shows up and how we talk about it. And so we're like, summer, it's great, it's sunny, it's bright, it's amazing. And we think bright is always better, right? But is it? Like in the summertime, we want it to be bright, but in the winter, we want it to be dark. Like dark doesn't make you depressed. Like it doesn't make you all the like, all the things that we think about, like the winter blues. Is it really the darkness, or is it the fact that you're trying to continue to make it summer in winter? So, um, and how out of touch we get with like those natural rhythms. I think that's another way that shows up, not just, getting out of sync with our cycles and our bodies, but in our environment, are we out of touch with how our light is and our light environment is? So, yeah, we go back to like typical day in the life with like light. All of history would be it's dark when it's dark, light when it's light, and then if you needed light, you had candlelight, which is infrared, which is we're not getting any blue light after dark. It would all be really warm tones. And infrared, we can't really see all those wavelengths. But fire is a fantastic source of red light. So that's what we would naturally have access to. And then you look at the flip side, artificially, now, modern day, what does our light routine look like day to day? We wake up, we probably immediately check our phones, at least to turn our alarm off, if not to then also check emails, scroll on Instagram, and Facebook, TikTok, whatever. Um, and then we are flipping on a lot of artificial LED lights so we can get ready. Um, and then we have lights. I can't unsee it now ever since like the last few weeks, but I'm like, there are always lights shining. And so I've tried to have times where I'm like, there's no artificial light in my face right now. So that's not from a car screen. That's not from my phone screen. It's not from my laptop. It's not from overhead lighting. Like, just try to think of like moments where you don't have that. And it's kind of hard to find. Like, you have to intentionally create these spaces where you're not literally being faced with artificial light. Because then you're working on a screen all day. And then even if you are getting sunlight, it's through a window. Windows actually impact like how the light is like the wavelengths are traveling through the glass, and so like it affects. I just know it throws things off. I don't know all the details behind it, but it does throw things off in your perception of things. So even if you are getting like, oh, it's natural light, like it is a lot better, but like it's still not ideal. And then we come back from work or whatever, and we're probably watching TV, scrolling on our phones to wind down, and just set our alarms and stuff and go to sleep. So, we don't really, it doesn't get dark until we like fall asleep or try to fall asleep. So, yeah, total different contrast. And again, with the wavelengths, you've probably seen something about blue light. That's been a very popular topic for a couple years now, quite a few years. Blue light is not bad. I think it's like anything that's talked about with health, like cortisol is not bad. Estrogen is not bad. Blue light's not bad. But these things are way out of proportion because of modern lifestyle. So, with the sun, the different wavelengths, naturally at sunrise and sunset, you get the most like infrared light, which is very, very healing. So cool. Um, and then around midday, which is not always exactly noon. So, but like when it's highest in the sky, you get a full spectrum of light. So you get the red light, blue light, everything in between. And so you get the full spectrum. But with screens and all that, you're only getting the blue light. So you're missing the full picture, if that makes sense. And of course, it's going to signal to your brain. That's literally why you have eyeballs, is to like pick up on those wavelengths and to interpret them, so you can see and interact with the world around you. But that also works on a hormonal level. So, not just like, hey, how close am I to this thing so I can move, or what color is the shirt? Um, but also like what hormones would you be making right now? Because if it's light outside, if you know it's sunrise, your body's like, cool, I've got to make some cortisol to wake us up. Um, and then at night, when the sun goes down, you make like, okay, the light's getting lower, um, and blue light is gone away now. We had that a couple hours ago. Then your body's like, okay, now we need to switch cortisol for melatonin so we can start winding down, slowing down. We can get ready to go to sleep. So when we disrupt that with that communication to our bodies of like, we have blue light all the time, anytime that you're awake, your body's like, whoa, when is it daytime and when is it nighttime? I don't know what's what. Um, and so we have a hard time falling asleep at night. We get worse quality of sleep. And then when we wake up in the morning and check our phones, all of a sudden we're like, oh, now I can't have a hard time waking up and just getting my day going, because your body is trying to, like, it doesn't know when you need those hormones and when you don't. So, um, because you're communicating like it's daytime, high noon all the time. And not to mention that LED lights and screens and things, they flicker. So we can't perceive it, because it flickers too fast for us to like pick up. But if you have like your slow-mo camera, then you'll notice that these lights flicker. I even saw the other day where someone posted like an Instant Pot recipe, and her phone picked it up. It wasn't slow-mo or anything, but she was like doing something in her Instant Pot and the Instant Pot light was flickering. And it was like kind of stressful to watch. Um, but I was like, that my eyes are picking that up even though I don't realize that they are. So, um, that can be a little test if you want to see like how much strain, because you think about being under a strobe light, like that is going to be stressful on your eyeballs. And of course, your eyes are going to be strained after, staring at that all day. Um, so yeah, the LEDs are not ideal, but also crazy thing is that the other option is incandescents, which were outlawed in the US at least. But I think that just recently got reversed. So incandescents are back. Whoop whoop. It was quote unquote the name of like energy saving and eco-friendly, and I'm like, really, that's what we're gonna start with is terrible lights. Um, so yeah, little quick recap with like, so natural hormonal cycle, circadian rhythm versus like an artificial one that we've created for ourselves now with modern day living. Um, we've just got to get back in sync with the sun, because the signals that we're giving to our brains of always having blue light, having hardly any exposure to red light, because I think it's like that gap has widened, um, because we've increased all the blue lights from technology while lowering red light. Like, how often do we see fire? We don't. And people, like, that used to be an everyday human thing. People would sit around the campfire every night. That was just what you did. So, and you'd watch the sunset, you'd watch the sunrise. Like, we had exposure to that like all the time. And so there's just like that gap between not really getting red light and getting way too much blue light. Um, so it's kind of like a two double-edged sword there. Um, and again, going back to like seasonally, are we trying to force it to be the same season year round? Um, I'll stick to light, but in every aspect, even like temperature and stuff, I think it's so fascinating how we try to be the same year round, just like women in their cycles try to be the same in every phase. And it's like, no, you're supposed to feel different. You're supposed to be different. And your biology is designed to fluctuate like that, which is pretty cool. And then we get frustrated when it doesn't line up. Um, so this is, I think, partly tied to like eating seasonally, like I said, aligning with your cycle and how you feel in each phase. Um, but if we're trying to, it's easy in summer, because we love the light, we love the bright days, bright long days. Um, and we're naturally outside a lot more too, on top of that. And then in the winter, we shut ourselves indoors with a lot of artificial light. Um, and then we call it good. And then we have bright lights on for hours and hours after dark, and then try to go to sleep. And then we struggle. And if you have kids, it's going to affect like your kids' sleep too. And also activities. In the summer, maybe we're out active doing more things, and then in the winter, we're watching more TV. So again, is it really the darkness that's making you like if you have like you're struggling with like, the seasonal depression, those sort of things, is it really the season? Are we really gonna blame winter or what you're doing in winter and the artificial light? So, um, because it's so fascinating getting into like the hormones now a little bit more. Like I said, cortisol is supposed to rise and peak in the morning. So, um, and then it naturally winds down throughout the day. Then at night, melatonin will take over. So there's this back and forth dance between cortisol and melatonin, which is so funny because I feel like I keep seeing it more and more where people like, oh, I just can't wake up in the morning. And so then they have a bunch of caffeine to wake themselves up artificially. And then, they need that little pick me up in the middle of the day because it wore off. And then they rely on that all day for energy. And then it comes to nighttime. And now they're like, okay, well, now they're popping melatonin gummies because you need melatonin to sleep. And I'm like, oh my goodness, your hormones are so out of whack. If you like have to rely on some like caffeine to wake you up and melatonin gummies to get you to sleep, like you have a built-in system to make that so much easier and so much like so seamless. Like you were designed to sleep. I don't know why we as a species have decided that like sleep is something that we don't want to do from the time that we're born and then like we have to force it. But our bodies do want to rest and sleep. We just don't let them and support them in doing that properly. So, um, yeah, so cortisol, melatonin, um, but maybe that's flip-flop. So like if you have a hard time waking up in the morning and you're tired and wired at night, because if you're up late enough at night, especially with the artificial lights and things, your brain's like, okay, it's not nighttime yet. So I'm going to give us another boost of energy with stress hormones. Um, Again, also tied into like if you're not eating enough, all that sort of thing, all those sort of things. So you can do what you need to do. So your body's trying to help you out. Like if your cortisol is dysregulated and your sleep schedule is dysregulated, it's your body responding to the cues you're giving it. Um, and it's trying to help you out. It's trying to keep you to do so you can do what you need to do. If you're like, I'm going to clean my house, like deep clean head top to bottom and write a 10-page paper at 11 at night, yeah, you're going to have higher stress hormones, babe. So, um, yeah, it's a whole thing. So that's yeah, your sleep and stress cycle. That's all good time to cortisol, melatonin there. But even like your appetite. So we are designed to eat during the day. That's why you don't wake up at 4 in the morning, like 4 a.m. wanting Thanksgiving. Um, and so that is a really good sign of like your hormones being happy is if you wake up and have an appetite. So if you wake up and you don't feel hungry, especially for several hours, then like I'm not saying you have to be like necessarily immediate, but if you can't eat like a full breakfast within like 30, 60 minutes of waking up, then we got to work on that a little bit. But that can be dictated by light. So, like leptin, ghrelin, the hormones that signal hunger, fullness, storing fat, using fat, all those good things, which is just energy, by the way. So, cool. Um, those things are dictated and respond to light. So, which is why the little challenge starts out with getting sunlight in your eyes, not through a window, um, first thing in the morning, well, like as soon as you can, because that is going to help signal to your body, hey, it's time to wake up. This is when we want to have cortisol. This is when we want to be hungry. Again, coming from biological perspective, you haven't been eating for at least 8 hours, but probably longer, especially if you like don't eat as much after dark, which is pretty also biologically appropriate. Um, then we wake up. we should feel hungry so we can have that energy to sustain us throughout the day. So that's like blood sugar, all that good stuff. Um, so if you're not hungry in the morning, sunlight might be the key for you, or at least a huge part of that. So that also ties into your cycles, like estrogen and progesterone, especially progesterone. So if you're struggling with like, PMS, or just like, people say like, oh, hormones are imbalanced, then they usually mean low progesterone. Um, if you have like a short luteal phase, spotting, um, if you're struggling to like get or stay pregnant, progesterone is typically a huge factor in all those things. Um, and if your cortisol is way off because your circadian rhythm is way off, guess what? Your body will convert progesterone into cortisol, which honestly is such a fantastic design though. Like that's not like it's not a design flaw. I think that's amazing because your body's like, what is cortisol? It's we need to put our attention to this and we need to be alert for, either the day when you first wake up in the morning to get things going, get things started. Or it's just alert because things are happening. There's like some stressful event. So it's like, okay, all my attention and energy needs to go here. And on the same at the same time, if you're having to deal with a really stressful situation, or and so your cortisol is high, then maybe it's not the best time to, make a baby, like ovulate or like to get pregnant. And so by turning progesterone into cortisol, it's a very efficient system, two in one, to put fertility, like to protect your fertility and put on the back burner so you can put your energy into what you need to. So, pretty fascinating. Genius design, little two in one. But yeah, so if you want to increase your progesterone and you suspect that your stress and cortisol is playing is a factor in that, then getting in sync with the sun is going to help a lot. Also, thyroid. So I feel like I did not really know what the thyroid ever did until I got into like holistic health a little bit more. And I was like, oh my gosh, thyroid's like a huge deal. It is the master regulator of energy in your body. So that's like your metabolism, your like literal energy and how awake you feel. Um, and artificial versus natural light is going to impact how you convert thyroid hormones, how you utilize thyroid hormones. And so how alert you feel during the middle of the day, like all those things. Some red flags that your whole system is off. If you're having a trouble waking up in the morning, if you hit that like midday crash around like 2 to 3 p.m. and you're just like, man, it's like so tired, I need to pick me up. And if you're having a hard time sleeping at night, if you're waking up in the middle of the night, especially if you're having trouble going back to sleep, even waking up to the bathroom, um, if you are like if your appetite is weird, like you're not hungry in the morning, and then like you're like super, super hungry late at night, um, especially after it's gotten dark, if your cycle hormones are really happy, like I mentioned that earlier too, like that stubborn weight, low libido, all those things can be tied to your circadian rhythm. So, um, again, a lot of that is like I'm huge on communicating safety to your body, mostly because we're doing so many things that communicate stress to our bodies without realizing it, like the flashing light bulbs from LEDs, or or scrolling on our phones late at night. It's like, oh, it's not that bad. So, yeah, if we can get back to communicating safety of like proper light of like, okay, it's dark now, we can go to sleep, it's safe, and all those things, your body's gonna thank you and it's gonna show up. So that I think is the perfect lead into the 7-day circadian reset. For me, like I said, I just wanted a week to try this out for myself. And I've stuck with a lot of these habits now the last like 3, 4 weeks because they've been so impactful. So I'm currently pregnant, about 6 months along. And like, so it's about a month ago. Yeah, probably like 4 to 6 weeks ago. It was like mid halfway-ish through. Um, and I was still struggling with a little morning sickness here and there. Not a ton, but enough to where like breakfast first thing in the morning, like I would have to wait a little bit longer. That was so sad. I miss my big breakfast. Um, like since getting pregnant, it just Yeah, breakfast has not been my strong suit, unfortunately. Um, that's a whole other thing. But I was like, I want to get better. I want to be able to nourish my body. And I'm used to waking up within an hour, like eating within an hour of waking up. And then I wasn't able to eat until like noon, like around lunchtime. Sometimes as late as like 1, even 2 o'clock on like the longest days. And the typical holistic advice is like, oh, if you get protein and like electrolytes first thing in the morning, that'll help. I tried that. It did not work for me. The best thing that my body needed was to simply wait. And just experimented with that for myself. So yeah, I could not eat breakfast for like several hours after waking up. Especially dairy, like even with like raw milk and stuff, that was still difficult. Especially, yeah, like if I could sometimes do something else, but not like a glass of milk. I don't know if it was like the liquid or the dairy part, maybe both. So and even then like had to be pretty light if I were to eat something earlier on. Just so I wouldn't feel like I wouldn't like throw up or anything, but it would make me kind of queasy. I'm just kind of like, oh, I don't know if I love that. Like, you can just tell when you eat something and you're like, I don't really feel 100% after that. Like, not great, not terrible, but not great. So, anyway, that was the biggest shift that I noticed for myself. Was 2 to 3 days in, I could eat breakfast. Like, I could go have a hot cup of hot chocolate like an hour and a half after waking up, which was 4 hours earlier than I had been eating my whole pregnancy. So just from a couple of days, my appetite like totally reset and breakfast has been great ever since. So that was fantastic. Um, and especially, trying to eat more calories and get all those nutrients in, like starting out earlier in the day helps a lot. Um, so that was the biggest thing. I definitely slept a lot better. I woke up a lot more rested. Honestly, I just felt like a lot more fulfilled in doing things that weren't just like on a screen. Um, so yeah, I'd say appetite was the biggest difference for me. Better sleep and feeling more rested, going to sleep a lot quicker and easier as well. And I feel like I got deeper sleep. Like it hit different. So there are a lot of other things that other people may have noticed as well. Like I don't have, kids right now. But I know a lot of times when you get your circadian rhythm in check, your kids will sleep better too. Pretty amazing. So, oh, I did like notice too my appetite like in the evenings. I haven't really been hungry after it gets dark, as much. Sometimes I'll grab a little snack here and there, but yeah, it's just really, really fascinating to see all the little changes. So I would love to hear how this goes for you because that's just my one experience. I'd love to be able to come back and share like and hear how this impacts your symptoms or your daily life. Um, and really all of the little how-to step-by-step challenge itself. Um, it just comes back to like what's biologically appropriate. So, like what light would human beings naturally have access to at that time, especially in your area. So, I'm just gonna go through what a day looked like. These are the little things I set for myself, and then throw in a couple optional things. This is like do what you can. If you have some of these extra tools and resources, great. You don't have to do everything. But the best tool that you have is literally just the sun. So that's it. We're gonna reconnect with the sun. So when you first wake up in the morning, little to no phones or screens, until you get direct morning sunlight. So, uh, like you can like turn your alarm off, but don't scroll Instagram, don't scroll, your emails, like leave all that until after you get some sunshine in your eyes for a few minutes outside. Um, and we're gonna try to get sunlight in the morning for a few minutes, midday around like the sun's peak, and at in the evening. So as early as you can and peak of the sun during the day and like the sunset. So, um, that will just help get your body of like, okay, because like I said, the wavelengths change. So all of those are going to say, okay, this is when the sun is doing what? This is when we need to be awake, and this is when we need to wind down. So when it's light, let it be light. When it's dark, let it be dark. So we're leaning in hard both ways here. Because remember, dark is not bad. We don't hate the dark. So, during the day, if you're able to, I say I highly recommend if you can like work outside. A lot of times, like I work a lot on my computer. That's, making content, podcasting, whatever, all the things. Um, I do a lot on here, emails. So I will take my computer outside. Also, you get that primal movement in and grounding. You heard the first episode, last episode, little slip in there. So I will take like like a food tray that you have like you carry like put food in bed. I'll put my computer on it and I'll go work outside. Even if it's just for like 30 minutes. Bonus points if you time it for like, midday. And um yeah, so if you can work outside doing something or finding a hobby outside, if you're like starting your garden or if you want to go on a walk, like there's so many things you can do outside. So Um, and then if it's dark, let it be dark. I have to say this has actually been a really good help for like my work-life balance as well. Because sometimes I just have so many things I want to do. But if I'm like not even just trying to like limit like the blue light, but even like the artificial light of LED and like the LED screens and stuff with like my computer, I try to keep my phone and everything off and away as much as I can after it gets dark. So if it's dark, let it be dark. That doesn't mean you have to have like no lighting and you just have to like stare at the dark abyss, but you can use like incandescent bulbs, warm low lighting. So a lot of those are still gonna be LEDs, but you can get like at least like the low flicker ones. Maybe test and like on with your camera and see which light bulbs are have a higher flicker rate than others. I know some are trying to say like they're flicker free. I don't know how accurate that is. Um, or I know like I have like a Himalayan salt lamp that I got thrifted for like $5. I'm very proud of it. One of the best things I found. But for some reason that's supposedly also supposed to be really helpful. But it's really warm, low lighting. So I'll journal or read or crochet. Like that's again like women have been, sewing and patching stuff up by candlelight for how long? Like have a good conversation, Like there's so many things you can do without staring at a screen or watching TV. If you're gonna watch TV, watch it during the day. I'd say at the bare minimum, I do an hour before bed most days. Um, but like I try to like put screens away. But for the sake of the challenge, try to do after dark. That's the challenge part. And then you can always like adjust it later. But you're gonna see the most impact if you really get fully in sync with the sun. So, yeah, light bulbs are gonna be warm, low tones, and ideally incandescents. So if you have like those bright white lights in your house, one, that's not cozy. It's not comfortable. And then two, um, yeah, that you're gonna get that more blue spectrum light rather than like warmer light. So, um, oh, so you can use candles. That is a thing. Remember, we want good candles, not the toxic ones. But, um, on my bucket list is also to get like they're like antique oil lamps, but I've seen them a lot on Facebook as like hurricane emergency prep lamps too. And I'm like, I want those so bad. Really, really bad because I think that'd be so fun. Um, so that is on my bucket list. I don't have those right now, but I did just get a couple beeswax candles from a friend, so that I will be using for this challenge. And probably I think they burn a little bit slower, then they also don't really drip. They're not like, at least a lot less. So I'm very excited for that. I've been saving them for this challenge. Um, Also, the little details make a difference too. So things you don't even realize are necessarily emitting light or blue light. Um, it's so funny. Like I said, I can't unsee it now. So we have two different cars. So we have like 2014 Buick Verano, and then we have like 2001 Yukon. And it's so funny, even though they're all like not even 15 years apart, the lights in the cars and the interiors are so different. Our Buick has like everything is blue. Like the whole dashboard is blue. I can't turn the like little LED screen off. It's not even like one of like the super modern ones. Like it doesn't have like all the Apple Maps and fancy stuff, but it's all blue, like bright blue. And then the Yukon does not have a fancy smart screen. And even like the lights behind the dash and stuff are a lot lower, and I wonder, I don't know for sure, but I don't think they're LEDs. I don't think they would be, but um I just like it's so much less stressful driving around in that at night than the Buick. I actually do want to like get like those plastic sheet protectors and get some orange ones and then pop them on there on all the stuff in the Buick so then we could change the lights because I do not like driving around in it at night. Because of the blue light. But that's a little side note. Also, side note on the blue light thing, because I know a lot of people will get like, oh, the blue light blockers and stuff. If your glasses are clear, they're not blocking blue light. If you could see the color blue, you're not blocking blue light. Um, so they should be yellow, if not like full on orange, because that is the opposite of blue. So, like, I'm not saying it wouldn't help a little bit if you have the clear ones, but it's not helping as much as you might think it is. I do not have blue light glasses, something on my list of things and tools to get later, but as of right now, I'm like, I haven't really felt like the good quality ones are expensive too. So I'm like, that's an investment and not the top investment I'm making right now for myself. But if you can, all more power to you. That'd be great. Fantastic. Especially like, yeah, I think also like planning out your day-to-day life. So like if you're running errands, um, especially when I started doing this little week challenge for myself, I tried not to go grocery shopping and things or shopping out of the house when it was dark too, because I have like this nice, cozy, warm lighting. And then you go into Walmart and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm being blinded. And it totally like threw things off. Because it doesn't matter if you go there at noon or at 11 at night, like they have the same exact lighting. So, um, yeah, that was kind of interesting. Even like going out, we visited some family a couple weeks ago and um I didn't realize how much I changed my light habits until I didn't have control over the lights anymore. Because it's just such a habit for me. Like even the overhead lighting, again, something they kind of touched on in the Village Sessions episode. Um, but like, what level, height wise, are you getting light at different times of day? Because if we're getting overhead light, it's going to be from the sun. Because if people had a campfire or candles, it was like eye level down. We wouldn't have like bright overhead lighting. So even if you have like warm overhead lighting, going for more of like the lamps that you like, I think Michelle called it like grandma core. You go into like an old lady's house and they have like all the lamps everywhere. I'm like, that is the goal. I love it. It's such a vibe. So cozy for sure. Um, but the reason it feels cozy is because your brain's like, ooh, so safe in here. Um, it's so safe and warm. So, um, yeah, like even just like I try to avoid like the overhead lighting and stuff. So going to visit family where I have the bright white LEDs mostly. Um, it was like it would throw me off. It totally threw off my circadian rhythm, and I'd say even my appetite, like it kind of like regressed a little bit. It took me a few days to kind of get back into it. I tried really hard to keep my circadian rhythm happy, especially in the morning, by waking up, going outside for a few minutes. But at night, when everyone wants to play games and I don't have control over the light bulbs and the light switches and stuff, then did what I could. But I did notice a difference. So, yep. Then the little sneaky lights. So like we have like on the Instant Pot I mentioned earlier, or like on like the washing machine, or how about your oven and your microwave if you have a microwave still. Um, like even the clock on there. I actually put on got like a little I found it on our microwave there's like an eco mode so we can turn it off. So that was really nice. I accidentally found that button. That was fantastic. Um, but then on the oven I put like a little, I got like a little note card and put electrical tape on it so I can flip it up and still like, if I need to turn the oven on, I can still have access to it and see it. But then at night, it's not emitting, like I don't see that blue light, and it's blocking that. So that has been so nice. Highly recommend that. So just trying to cover up like little lights where they are because again, light sees blue, it thinks daytime. So if you don't want it to be daytime all the time, then where can we adjust that? So, um, I think, yeah, so just to recap, get sunlight naked in your eyes, like in like naked eyeballs. So like not through contacts, not through glasses, um, not through a window. Um, we're gonna get the direct sunlight into our bare eyeballs, morning, noon, and night, if you will, and try to do what is biologically appropriate for that time of day. Let it be light when it's light, let it be dark when it's dark. No screens until you get some little to no screens until you get that sunlight first thing in the morning. Um, and do some screen free, like bright light free things after dark. So, that's the how-to. It's really simple. I know it sounds like maybe it sounds like a lot, but um, if you've like this is all brand new, but really we're just getting back in sync with the sun. That is literally it. Is how can we get back in connection and in relationship with the sun, and all of your hormones are gonna follow. That's gonna be your thyroid, your stress hormones, your sleep hormones, your appetite and hunger hormones. Literally all those things. Your cycle too are going to respond positively to a happy circadian rhythm. So, I would love it if you tag me, share it, how the challenge is going for you. I would I'm so excited to hear, other people's experience with just these simple little changes. Um, Even just like after a day or two, after the whole week. So cool. And then I will share all of those, on Instagram and on Facebook so we can all encourage each other. So that is going to start on March 26th, so tomorrow. So you can wake up and get a good start. And then go for about a week. And then after that, I hope you continue these habits for the long run because it will make such a difference for hormones. So, yeah, now you can see what is needed its whole own episode. And like I said, share, tag me in your experiences. And you can also just email me personally or message me personally at flourish.n.flow. Yeah, and I am excited to hear how it goes for you. If this episode has helped you in any way, I would absolutely love it if you shared your main takeaways and what you love the most and tagged me on Instagram at flourish.n.flow. If you want a sneak peek of what's coming up next and to submit your questions for each episode, you're invited to join the Facebook community and to subscribe to my email list, linked below in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next episode.